Hello, my name is Ricardo Smith of the Medicaid office. Today's session is on billing Medicaid for nursing services. But before we get started, let's discuss the False Claims Act. What is it? The False Claims Act have two aspects to it. The first portion of it is that it prohibits an individual from knowingly making a false claim regarding a federal health program such as Medicaid. Of course, this does not include unintentional errors. So if you unintentionally made an error in a date or a name or grammatical error, this does not constitute a false claim. The second aspect is the opportunity for you to report any suspected fraud. Prince George's County Public Schools have provided a compliance hotline and online access for employees to report any such suspected fraud. In this session, we'll be discussing what is necessary to bill Medicaid, the supporting documentation required by our office, and how you can document all of those documentation within the frontline system. So what is necessary to bill Medicaid? Well, what is necessary is an eligible student, Medicaid eligible, that is, a billable nursing service, and on the screen you can see a list of some of those billable services, and we'll discuss that in more details. And of course, the person providing the service should be a qualified provider. In summary, a qualified provider would be a registered nurse or a licensed practical nurse. Both of these professions should be licensed within the state of Maryland. What sort of supporting documentation would you need for us to bill? Well, the good news is that most of the documentation is done within Frontline. And this documentation you would be required to provide or to document regardless of if you were billing for Medicaid. So what do we need? We need a service record completed in Frontline. We need the doctor's orders, and preferably on that doctor's orders, the NPI number for that doctor. We need that doctor's order to be signed by the physician, and you should upload that doctor's orders within the Frontline system. Every 60 days, we also require the nursing care plan. This should be signed by the registered nurse, not the LPN, and also this should be uploaded to Frontline. The service record should indicate the time in and time out for the student. You should complete the RAD area, that is the results, how the student tolerated the procedure, the actions taken, and the disposition, that is, whether the student returned to the classroom or not. And of course, completing this, you should save the record. Here's what the documentation would look like. Remember, don't forget to click on the timeout and enter the timeout date, because in some instances, we have seen where a session would have documented such as it took days, and that's because sometimes we forget to document that the student actually timed out and end the session. But here's an example of what a scheduled medical procedure would look like. Below is the disposition, and you can actually check or click on the appropriate disposition, and most times the student returned to the classroom, but in some cases, the student might have remained in the health room to be serviced. For feeding conducted in the classroom, as a reminder, we cannot document or bill for services if the student is being fed from a GT through in the classrooms consistently, because they're being done, the feeding is being done by themselves. So if the student was within your care, you would document the start and end time that the student within your care. The student is sent back to the classroom. You would not document the services for the student being in the classroom, but primarily you're documenting the services for the student being within your care. If the student remained in your nursing station for the entire feeding process, then you would start and end for the entire time that the student was in your care in the nursing station. And again, here is an example of what that screen would look like. Another example of what a RAD and a COMES would look like. Notice the result says tolerated treatment procedures well, and these are all standard responses. On the medical procedure, it indicates the procedures that was actually done. In this case, it was a gastronomy tube feeding through a slow drip. So the doctor's orders, let's talk about that in more detail. The doctor's orders is valid for 1 year. So we are looking for the doctor's orders, and we're looking for the date on that the doctor actually signed that doctor's orders, and that doctor's order is valid for the entire year beyond that signature date. We also would like that the doctor's NPI number to be included on the doctor's orders, because we need to include that NPI number when we're actually billing for the nursing services. So in summary, the doctor's order should be signed by a physician, and it should also be dated, and it should also include the NPI number. Here's an example of what a doctor's orders might look like. For the nursing care plan, this is done every 60 days. So every 60 days, you'll review and you'll sign it. If there are no changes, you just sign it and date it again, and then upload the new version of it. Remember, it can only be signed by a registered nurse. Include your printed name and your signature. Again, if there are no changes, you can sign the same document and date the same document and upload that document with several signatures for that nursing care plan if there are no major changes. Here's an example of that nursing care plan. And here's an example of where you should actually upload those documents. Notice all the way down under the attachments, you'll see it says choose file, and you can upload both the doctor's orders and the healthcare plan in those areas. In a nutshell, that's all you need to remember for billing Medicaid for your nursing services, the services that you provide. Most of the work we'll do on our side. So all you have to do is to make sure that you actually document the services that you provide, the nursing services that you provide to the student. Remember to upload the nursing care plan every 60 days. And remember to upload the doctor's orders usually at the beginning of the school year. And that's all you need to do. We'll take care of the rest from there. If you have any questions or you need any assistance through the process, here are the key contacts that you should remember. Patricia Barth, she's the one that will most likely contact you because she's primarily responsible for the nursing. And here's her email address. Of course, Angela Miles or myself, Ricardo Smith, are also available via email. That's it. That's all you need to know. Thank you. Have a wonderful school year.